Welcome back. Welcome back to Open Rise. We're moving now into our first segment for the morning.
John, we are.
And this one is all about the BTB and tour operators requirements. Now, there's a difference. And today we'll be highlighting what that difference is in terms of a tour guide and a tour operator and what you need to become a tour operator. In with us, we've got the folks, and we've got Denmar, Villar. All right.
Villar.
Say it like that. He's actually the Registrar of Hotels and Timeshares for the BTB. Abil Castaneda is in with us. He's the Director of Cruise Quality Management and Capacity Development for the BTB. And Miss Rosella Zabaneh is in with us. She's the Chair of the Tour Operators Committee. Good morning and welcome to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Look, I'll tell you what. Primarily for me, and I have to highlight this, Ms. Zab, I didn't know there was a tour operator committee. But before we highlight that committee, let's talk about, tour guiding or tour operators and what they need to become that. Let's start there.
Well, there's a common misnomer that the tour guide and a tour operator are one and the same.
What's the difference?
Tour operator is the company that provides packages, sells the packages, provides the tours, carries all the liability, importantly, for guests that come into the country, even Belizeans that do tours. Tour guides are who work under the tour operators or with the tour operators to actually do the actual tour. So the tour guides will take the groups to the attractions, to the sites to do the tours. But tour operators, tour guides.
All right, so analogy, check this out. You got St. Luke's Methodist School, that a tour operator. Then you've got a teacher who actually teaches the students. They are the tour guides.
So then there's no such thing as a freelance tour guide. We work for this.
Tour operator for a freelance.
Well, there's nothing in law that speaks to a freelance tour guide. What we do have is over the years, there's been this practice of some tour guides considering themselves a freelance. But what that means is that they are not permanently employed under one particular tour operator. They can work for many tour operators. So that's what it should work.
How does that work if they're working for multiple tour operators? What kind of experiences or expertise do they have that they're able to do that?
Well, to become a tour guide, to start with, you have to go through a rigorous training program that is sanctioned by the Belize Tourism Board. There's two aspects of that training program. One is a general core that teaches you the background of Belize, the history, the cultures and all of that. And then there's a professional core that speaks about how to communicate, how to lead a group and all of that. So that training has to happen. And then they have to do internships and they build their experience over years and how to do proper tours and all of that. So what happens with tour guides is that the way the industry works is sometimes like in the cruise industry, for instance, sometimes there is a lot of business, sometimes there is not. And so tour guides, to be able to maintain a certain level of activity, some of them, they choose to work with different tour operators depending on how the demand is. Some tour guides, they work permanently, are hired permanently by tour operaters, and that's just the way the industry works.
So I'm a tour guide. I'd like to venture off now into my own business.
Correct.
There are a lot of them, and I'm sure, especially following the pandemic, there are a lot of people who are actually now seeing the sweets of becoming or having their own tour operator business. What do I need to become a tour operator?
See, to be a tour guide, you need to just do your training, get your license, and then link up with a tour operator to do tours. To be a tour operator now, there's much more requirements than that. The requirements for tour operators, first of all, you have to establish yourself as a company, whether it be a solely owned company, sole proprietor, or a joint company. And you're right, we have seen quite a bit of new tour operators that are starting up because tour guides are not transitioning over to tour operators. We are seeing it. But to do that, it's not as easy as you would think, because what happens is that now, as a tour operator, you are liable and you need to have the proper insurances. You have to have public liability insurance for your company, because if anything is to happen on a tour that you sell, that you package, that you provide, then you become liable for that. And that's one of the main issues that we have that seems to need more awareness of, in that tour guides only provide the tours, but what happens on that tour, God forbid something bad happens, then if that tour guide is not linked to a tour operator that has insurance, then that
Yeah.
tour guide is in deep waters, no? So for a tour operator, you need to have public liability insurance. You need to provide, for instance, what's your emergency plan in case there is an emergency. There's also requirements of what vehicles and vessels you have. Are these properly licensed? Are they properly insured? Who do you employ? Do you have permanent tour guides? Do you have temporary tour guides? Do you have employees from an administration point of view? So there's a lot of different elements that comes in establishing a tour guide. It's not as easy as a transition. And the main, I think, challenge that we have seen over the years is this need to have, by law, a public liability insurance for a tour operator. And that is sometimes the main reason why many do not transition, because it does cost quite a bit. No?
So I know about a few things within my country. I've got my own van. I've got a lot of friends who are actually coming from the US, or they might actually channel people through me because I know what's going on. I know Nada and Lagoon, La Manai. Am I able to just put these people in my van and say, you know what? I'm a tour operator. I just want to carry people go visit different spots. Am I able to do that?
If you're getting paid for it, then by law you should be a tour operator.
So my people from states can direct a few people to me, and I get paid for taking them around.
No.
That's not supposed to happen?
No.
Let's venture off there. Why is that?
Okay, as we said, the tour operator is a company. To be in the game, you have to have your equipments. Vehicles, you have to be roadworthy vehicles, public liability insurance, passenger liability insurance. You have to ensure that those vehicles are roadworthy. If you're doing a marine tour, that boat has to be sanctioned by the ports commissioner, that boat is seaworthy. You can take people out there. You have to ensure that you have proper first aid kits, you have a radio for emergency, you have how to deal with an emergency out there, a rescue boat and what's not. Now, if you're a small tour guide who, okay, I'll take 10 people in my van today and something happens, that van breaks down out there, what is the recourse? How do the tourists get back? So, God forbid, a snake bite. Somebody breaks their feet off a ruin, they drop off a ruin. How do you handle that? As a tour operator, you go through a rigorous application process whereby you submit emergency plans to us, to the committee, so that we can verify and ensure that should an emergency arise out in the water, out at a ruin or wherever in a cave, you as a company or the tour operator can handle that. And that is the misconception where a lot of tour guides just become or want to become a tour operator overnight, get people in their vehicle, in their small car, their taxi, whatever. Let's go. No, but nothing will happen. Let's go to San Antonio. Something can happen along the way. Something can happen on the ruin, and then those tourists are not covered.
I wanted to ask about different hotels that do carry out tours. So are those hotels then the tour operator?
Yes.
Okay.
If they have a license.
Okay.
Correct.
If they applied for it. If you only have a hotel license, you're not allowed to do that. If you're a hotel and you want to carry out tours, then you have to apply for a tour operator's license. And then you hire qualified tour guides to take out those tours. So then I would hire you with your van because you're a tour guide to take out those tours. As a tour operator, you can't take out a tour. I personally, as a tour operator, cannot take out a tour. I am not a tour guide.
You just have this.
I have the company. I have the
yeah.
business. I have the operation. I have all materials in place.
Required
vehicles,
as a tour operator.
license, insurances, everything.
So those hotels that I see then that carry out tours to the Blue Hole, tours to San Antonio, tours to this and that, and
They
they're all
hire freelance guides.
sites. Oh.
Or what is considered,
Okay, because I'm like, we just said that they don't have that.
it just means that they're not linked to a particular tour operator. So sometimes they could work for one hotel
Right.
one day, the next
for
day
another
maybe
hotel
that
the next
hotel
day.
doesn't have a job but another hotel has, so then they would work under them. So that's
Okay.
that's how
So
they
they are
do it.
carrying out that tour guide, that they would be carrying out a tour under my tour guide license.
So how does
Appropriate.
BTB
For me.
how does BTB monitor right? Those kinds of operators that have multiple tours like that.
Well, it's hard for BTB to monitor. It's a tour operator to be more responsible and understand that when a tour goes out and it's taken out under your tour operator's license, you are responsible.
And also on the in the application process, for instance, if I'm a tour operator and I want to hire 3 tour guides, 2 of them being permanent, 1 of them being temporary, and I'm going to use that tour guide's vehicle, for instance, that's not mine, then under the application process, for instance, they would have to provide a agreement between the tour guide and the tour operator that for this tour operator, I am providing authorization for it to be registered under my tour operator license. And with that, the tour guide or whoever we are getting the vessel or vehicle from gets a laminated decal that says this vehicle is assigned to a licensed tour operator. So when now we go out to do our enforcement checks, or when the tourism police unit does their monitoring, then that's one of the things that they can ask for. If they don't have it, then that's an issue, because they should.
What about checks and balances at the various tour site or at the various site? Are there people there? Or in order for you to come on in, we must see these requirements, otherwise you'll be turned back. Do we have these things in place?
Yes, we do. As Mr. Castaneda said, we have we work with the tourism police, and we also have an enforcement unit that goes and visits the different sites randomly, and they would meet a van, a tour van, a taxi, or out in the ocean, in the sea. They would stop, and if they don't have that decal, that simply means that they're not licensed. That vessel is not licensed or sanctioned by the BTB, and then that can carry a fine.
So let's get back to, because we definitely want to go into the committee. We need to know about the committee, but at the same time, I want to know what are my steps to becoming a tour operator. Where do I go? What do I do? What do I need?
Okay, to become a tour operator, the first step is for you to form your company. That is the first step.
I need to register that company.
That is correct.
Company registry.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thereafter, you visit the website of the BTB, and we have the forms there for you to download and to fill the application form. Thereafter, you need to purchase your insurance and to ensure that you have your proper vessels.
Okay.
You have to have your first aid kits in your vehicle. You have what is required. You have to have your licensed tour guides, because there's an issue there. July the 31st is the renewal date for all tour guide license.
Can I renew maybe
you can
a few weeks before?
You can renew from the 1st of June.
Okay.
And to date, we still have about half the tour guides who are not licensed. We're giving them until the end of August to complete that process. Thereafter, you're operating without a license, an expired license, and that again carries a penalty and a fee if the police should catch you taking tourism.
Why the leniency though? We're in a position whereby Belize is being looked. We don't no longer a secret, you know. Everybody wants to come to Belize. As a matter of fact, a little later on we'll be talking to Passport Heavy because he is one of those who love this country. Yes. So why the leniency? If July the 1st is the cutoff date, then July the 1st should be the cutoff date. God forbid something would happen. Why the leniency?
Okay, sorry. It's not the leniency. It's that, you know, Belizeans, they left everything for last minute, and the last day of July, they send in their papers. So for us to process, we gave them until the 1st of August. But that is if you submitted your documents
within that
prior to the expiration date.
Yes.
If you just submitted your documents right now, you know, you should not be operating.
Belize time is harming our tourism. I've said it. So when it comes to the different requirements and so forth, do I have to have like a number of vessels? Do I have to have a number of tour guides under my operation in order to function as a tour operator?
Well, it depends on the size of your operation. So we don't put like you have to have 5 guides. No. Once you meet the requirements that you go through the application process, you could have 1 vehicle or you could have 10 vehicles. It all depends.
How long does this application process last?
The application process
depends on you, the individual.
Okay.
Why is that?
How quick you fill your paperwork and
get your documents
get
together.
your documents together.
So if I've got everything I need.
People are slow. Some of them complain that I don't even feel like read. Why do you want to get into business if you don't want to read and make sure that
you should have just said, okay, thank you.
That's
it.
That's it.
Correct.
So it's a stringent process. It's not that become me a friend, me, I want
No,
make
no,
sure you
no,
get a
it's
tour
No, no,
operator.
no, it's not like that.
So it's a stringent process.
One of
And
the
it's for
things,
everybody.
one of the basic and essential things that most tour operators do not want to fill or they have a hard time is what we call the emergency plan. That is key to all the tours. The emergency plan will tell us before we issue a license, the committee will review the emergency plans. How do you handle somebody who almost drowned it out there? How do you handle that?
Yeah.
Somebody fell off the marine and they sprained their foot, they broke their feet, a snake bite. How do you handle that? And sometimes, as the registrar, I get the emergency plan. Oh, you know, treated with alcohol. 2 words. That is not an emergency plan.
Right.
2 words, 2 sentences. That is not an emergency plan. We need to ensure that somebody, the tour guide,
Is capable.
is capable,
Capable.
of treating that, giving that
Yeah.
the some kind of response out there, and ensuring that they can get that person to a hospital or to a health clinic or to a public health center. But most of the time we get 2, 3 lines, 2 sentences. That is not an emergency
So then they
plan.
have to go.
We send it back, and then that's where the back and forth.
And that's where the time element comes in. So it could go from a month to 3 months, sometimes
Yeah.
even up to 6 months, because we are just not getting
not
a
substantial.
satisfactory level of documentation. And when the documentation is all in, our licensing officers do a review, they do an initial vetting. And when they are satisfied that it is meeting the checklist and requirements, then that goes to the tour operator committee for final vetting, and that's
Yeah.
where we look at every single document and making sure that we are satisfied that the documentation submitted is at the level that we can rest assured that, one, the experience will be good, that the tour operator will be taking care of the safety and security or safeguarding that for tourists and also of their employees. And 3, that they are set up in a way that they can succeed. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to license tour operators just for licensing tour operators'
Yeah.
sake. We want to ensure that these companies, like many others that have come before them, have an opportunity to develop and become very successful. And so that's why the documentation is so important, to have that foundation before you're even given the go-ahead to
So
start.
where can I, I want to run my business as a tour operating company. Where can I find the application?
It's in our website.
Okay.
In our
Belize Tourism.
Yes, Belize
Word
Tourism in the
.org.
website. The application forms are ready to be downloaded there, and you fill them, and that's the first step.
There are a few forms too, because there's an application form, but there's also other forms that we provide to help, because we've tried to establish templates so that
Of
we can make
course.
it standardized
Yes,
and to
yes.
help those that are
And a quicker
that are
process
transitioning.
too.
Yes.
Right, and in fact, right now we are completing an exercise to do an emergency plan template to be able
okay.
to now provide that to tour operators so that they know exactly at a minimum level what it is that we would like to look for and that they should have as an emergency plan on their behalf.
So if I want to register my company as a tour operating, I just need to be sure that it's a registered business, a company, and I need to have tour guides and proper vessels.
Insurance.
Yes.
Insurance. That's one of the big things.
That's
It's like
Insurance.
yeah, it's like insuring a vehicle. In order for you to get that license, you must have insurance.
Correct.
All right. But even so, and I'm going on what April made mention of in terms of my requirements. After my requirements, and I'm licensed now as a tour operator, am I automatically a part of the committee?
No. When you complete your application form, that comes to the committee. And the committee looks at all your information, and then they address the ones that are not completed, and we decide, we bring you in. So you sit in with the committee and they say, okay, John, you know what, you have completed XYZ on your application. This area, this emergency plan area, has not been completed properly.
Okay.
You will need to complete XYZ. Your letter of recommendation is not here. Other copies are not there. Now, this is something we used to allow a lot. Presently, what the board is requesting is that your documentations not be accepted until you have sent in everything.
Now, why would I want to
Because
be?
we used to get 2 paper, 3 paper, 1 more paper, 4 more paper, and because it's not completed within 6 months, it's BTB taking too long to give me my license.
And we know that time is flying by. One more question here. Why would I want to be a part of the committee? Do I have to?
So no. The committee is a legally established committee that is made up of stakeholders of the industry. So Ms. Rosella, for instance, represents the Belize Tourism Industry Association.
That's right.
And these are all appointed by the minister on an annual basis. So this committee has a specific function to provide some level of overarching recommendations on how to develop the tour operator sector. They also look at the final vetting of applications. They also deal with disciplinary measures in case there's tour operators that have broken the law or have broken whatever code of conduct or ethics that we have. And so that committee is a committee of 9 members, made up of the BTB, the BTIA, the Belize Hotel Association. We have a representative from a National Tour Guide Association, the Belize National Tour Guide Association. There's also a Tour Operator Association representative, which right now it's from the San Pedro Tour Operator Association. We have the Tourism Police Unit on there, the Transport Department, National Transport Department is on there, the Belize Ports Authority is on there, and I think that's pretty much it. And a representative from the BTB, and the minister is able to appoint a representative as well. So we are the ones that at the end of the process, we are at the end to say, okay, you have come to this point, now you should be ready. But even at that time, even though they should be ready, they are still, from our overarching point of view, that there sometimes are still areas that they need to improve, so that we know that by the time they get the license, they're good to go. We can at least put them on a track to be successful and to provide a memorable and quality experience for our guests, because at the end of the day, that's why we're here, right? To provide that experience.
I've got one final question. I'm so sorry. But you know, one of the things I feel is a big issue, especially across Caribbean nations that are deemed very high trafficked when it comes to tourism, would be the HSE, which is health, safety, and environment.
Right.
Is there checks and balances there, and where do we rank, if there is a rank for such thing? I mean, if I'm a tourist, I want to check out where to go on Honduras. I wonder if it's safe. I wonder if Belize is safe as well. But if I find out that I'm safe when I go to Belize, hearing everything about Belize, that's going to be my destination. So do we do checks and balances when it comes to your health, safety, and environment?
You know, before COVID, health and safety, I must say, wasn't as much of a kind of priority focus area for many industries, and including the tourism sector. We were more inclined to dealing with the security aspects of it. But when we reopened the industry back, one of the things that we were very adamant about is to ensure that when we marketed, when we established, reinitiated our tour operations, our hotels, that everybody was at a level that we could assure that the experience would be safe and secure from a COVID point of view, and now in general from a health point of view. So the whole program for, you've heard the Tourism Gold Standard program that was developed and all of that. All our tour operators that are licensed must get gold standard certified, meaning that they have the basic level of systems in place to deal with not only COVID, but also with just general medical issues that may come about. And so we are very cognizant that health and safety is with us moving forward. And I think that the program that we put into place with the Tourism Gold Standard, and now that our tour operators also are doing, and our hotels are doing their part to continue to mobilize, even though a lot of the regulations have been kind of done away with, we still have practices that are in place that will continue. And so we are very cognizant that we are, and we have promoted ourselves, and we are able to show that we are a safe destination to visit. And many of our visitors have indicated this to us, but also the number of demand, the number of arrivals that we're seeing goes to show that Belize is, as you said, we're hot on the market right now. There's a reason for that. It's not just that we have great experiences and attractions and sites to show, is that we also have come across in the reopening of the industry as a responsible one.
All right. There we go. We're getting the signs. We're so thankful that you guys.
So, John, one last comment. As you notice, we came right back to where I started. A tour operator has to ensure the health and safety to get that gold standard. They have to ensure everything. So, when a tour guide wants to get in their vehicle and take tourists as a tour operator,
it's not going to work. So if you as a citizen get into a vehicle and the tour guide says, we could do this, man, make sure they have themselves running under a tour operator that is insured.
All right.
Correct.
Thank you guys for joining us. Denmar, Abil, and of course, Auntie Rose. We're so thankful that you guys could have joined us this morning to walk us through the process of becoming a tour operator and the requirements. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I know you like this one.
Well,
I know you like this
It's
one.
all the best R's, rum, rice, and ribs. So I am excited, yes.
Oh, it's a rum, rice, ribs, carousel. I get to understand you
September
guys.
celebration.
Oh my goodness, you guys will be kicking things off in a big way. We'll be talking about that when we come back. Stay with us.